Hey guys, I'm Lazor, otherwise known as Matt, and I'm going to be recording one of these deck list things. Probably my first deck list in this year, obviously, and it's the only deck list that I can confirm I probably won't be changing for a long time, since it's been working really well. Reliably doesn't make sense. I went like halfway through the word and I was like, that's not the word. But first of all, podcast went up yesterday on Dulls Community, which is this channel, obviously. Might want to listen to that. It's an hour and 58 minutes, which is a long time for an audio file. I'm going to be trying to get it on Podbean, which means I'll get it on iTunes. So yeah, I'll give you guys an update when that goes live. It'll take me either till the end of today or tomorrow to get that done. What else? Hopefully we can do them more often. That'd be pretty cool. And yeah, it was really fun. It was me, JT, Butchie, Daisho, and ITSC 101. We were just talking about all of the decks in 2013, what cards we run, what cards we don't run, how good the decks are. We talked about basically anything. It's really difficult to like keep it structured and stuff when there's like 5 of you who all have your own opinions and stuff, or 6 at one point when Butchie got in. So yeah, it was really fun though, and we played a lot of games afterwards, but I didn't stream them because I was busy uploading the podcast straight away. As soon as we did it, I started uploading it. But yeah, those were fun games. I played against JT in the best of 3. I know Butchie played Daisho in the best of however many and stuff like that. And we were all just chatting away. It was good. It's good times. But you're here for the deck list probably now, so I'll just start the deck list. So I run 61 cards. I know it's a little bit frowned upon. Everyone's like 60 elitist all the way, but I run 61. I like to be slightly different, and I just feel that 61 just runs better. I don't know why. I test with 60 and I test with 61, and 61 just runs somehow better. It suits me more, and there's always that one card that I'm like, if I could just have another one of these. But I'll make it nice and quick and simple. If you want to run 60, take out one of the elite vanguards. There you go. If you want to run 60 cards instead of the 61 format I have out, take out an elite vanguard. I like having 3. I think 3 are nice. Guarantees me a 1-drop. It has 2 power. It's a human. We'll get to it in a minute. I'll talk about what I've taken out and why. This guy, Master Decoy, is a human soldier. He has a brilliant ability. You pay 1 mana. That's a plains, which is going to be all of your mana because it's a mono white deck, and is a 1/2 for 2. So the problem I have with this guy is the fact that I have to pay mana to tap a creature. I know, oh my god, what a bad thing. I know tapping a creature is brilliant in this game, but for me, with the way this deck curve works, most of the time I'm tapping out every turn. Most of the time it's all about me outguying my opponent and just smashing them. That's what this deck is about for me. This guy just slows me down a little bit too much. He's not really that aggressive because most of the time you want to stay back and tap a creature. You're keeping mana open when I could be playing other cards. He's good later game, to be honest, but most of the time, if it does get to late game, I haven't had a problem late game. I haven't had an issue where I've gone, oh, I could do with Master Decoy right now. He would be great. I mean, when you do need him, it still takes an extra turn for you to use his ability, so you either want him down turn 2 or you don't want him at all. I mean, there isn't that much turn 2 in this game, but you're still keeping the mana open. I just don't like him. He just doesn't seem to fit the flow of the deck. Pacifisms. I was getting ridiculed about not running pacifisms. The thing is, yet again, the same with Master Decoy. It just slows the deck down. It's not that great of a removal in my opinion, because it's unlike the other removals that are in this deck. They keep their abilities on the field. There's a lot of abilities where they can either tap abilities or just stuck abilities, and I pressed X for some reason. My bad, guys. So it keeps the abilities on the field. It's an okay removal. It's pretty good. It's a good removal, but I didn't think it was good enough when I compare it to what else is in the game. And when I compare it to what else I could be having in, instead of these 3 or 2 pacifisms, you probably run 2 if you're going to run an E. I just felt that they weren't needed in the deck. I just feel that the deck suited without them, and they kind of slowed it down a little bit. And I pressed X again, but thank god it didn't register, which is good for me. Ring of Thune, we were on about this yesterday in the podcast as well. The rings don't seem to be that useful. I do like the fact it gives vigilance, but most of my creatures end up having vigilance anyway. Creatures that I would put this on, probably be the Battlecry guy. That is probably it, so he won't die as soon as he swings in. Because most of the time the Battlecry guy is either going to get it in turn 3, which is the turn after you play him, or not at all until you need to win. So he either gets in turn 3 for 3 damage, and then after that he probably won't get in until your final attack, where he'll Battlecry everyone, because Battlecry is such a good ability that I can't live without him. But this gives +1/+1 at the beginning of each turn. It's, yet again, it's costing me 2 mana, it's making me equip, I don't know, I don't like it in this deck. Squadron Hawk used to be a great card, is always a great card if you have Squadron Hawk in a mono white deck. If it's legal, you should probably run it, but unfortunately there's only 2, so you play one Squadron Hawk and the other one comes to your hand. If there was 3, I would probably run it, but since there's only 2, I don't know, it's a waste of a slot in my opinion. Yet again, the thing is about this game, these cards are all good cards. I can't say that this card's bad, right? I can't say that this card's bad, because they're not. They're all really good, but compared to the way that what I've already got in there, I don't think they're that great, that they just live up to it, you know? Flicker Wisp, yet again, it's situational, that's the thing about this. You just enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So you'd play it at your second main, you would do it to either your creature, you'd have to do it to your creature obviously, but there's only like, there's 6 creatures I think we got, or 7 creatures that would benefit from Flicker Wisp, and one of those 7 have to be on the battlefield for you to then play Flicker Wisp. The other thing is that it does also remove a blocker from combat, as in you can play this guy main phase 1 and it would remove a blocker from their side. So yet again, not a bad card. A 3/1 flying is always good, especially when it can be buffed. It's a great card, but it just doesn't suit the deck build at the moment. I'm just looking at these cards and going, why aren't I running these? But when you look at the main deck, you might notice that the mana curve is just spot on. It is so good. Intrepid Hero is a brilliant card, but is situational and is expensive for what he is. If his situation isn't being used, then he's really expensive. Okay, so he works well against the green decks, and that's about it. He works well at the other mono white. If they get a Ajani out and he starts getting huge, it works good. But other than that, I mean, Intrepid Hero is still then a 3-cost 1/1. I don't know, I don't run him anymore. I did at one point, I got 1 use out of him, and I've had him on the field being, well, a dead weight when I could have played something else. Midnight Guard, a great card, not a bad card at all. If you play a creature, he untaps. So when another creature enters the battlefield on tap, it's not even your creature, so you usually want to swing in with this guy most of the time, and then either play a creature second main phase, so he untaps so he can block, or not. But yet again, he is a 2/3 for 3 mana. He can be buffed a lot in this deck. That's something you have to take into mind when looking at the cards, but there are other cards that just outclass it. Like this card is great, but it gets outclassed by a lot of other 3-drops in this deck. 2/1 First Strike Vigilance for 3 mana is pretty crap, but in this deck it could work pretty well, mainly because of the fact that there's a lot of cross buffing yet again. But I'd rather be dropping other creatures other than this. There are other creatures that are similar, but have overall better value in this deck. Pen and Blade is great. Yet again, all these cards are really good. It makes them really difficult. 61 down or 60 down, whatever. +1/+1 for each creature control, but the equip cost is too much. The equip cost is 4. The Pen and Blade itself is 3. That's 2 turns. That's turn 3 and turn 4 before you're getting any use out of it. And in that time, I could have played 2 creatures, 3 creatures, made my board side a lot stronger instead of just making 1 creature stronger, especially since there's no trample in this deck. If you wanted to go flyer heavy, then I'd recommend running Pen and Blade, but other than that, I don't recommend running Pen and Blade. It's a bit clunky for what is a really quick, really good deck, to be honest. I mean, look at my 3-cost cards. I have 12 3-cost cards in this deck. If it's a 3-cost card, it needs to be on par with them, and unfortunately these just aren't on par. This card, Safe Passage, is a really good fog. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to you and creature control this turn. But yet again, it's very situational, and in this deck most of the time I don't need it. I'm not in a point where, oh, we're at a stalemate. If I swing in, I'll lose like most of mine, he'll lose most of his, but Safe Passage would mean he loses all of his and I lose none of mine. That's really good. But most of the time when I swing in, because I play this deck very conservatively, no, I don't know, I can't pronounce that word right now. I tend to only swing in with mass guys when I know I killed them. That's the way I play this deck. It's very conservative. There you go, got the word. I used to play mono green elves very similar. I used to smash them, but if I were in a point where we're both like equal on each side, I will only attack if I know I can win. But because I don't want to overextend or anything like that, so yeah. This card, however, if you like to play very aggressive, I would run it. Yet again, I would run a couple of these cards if I played a different way, but this is suited to the way I play. It's one of the things about doing these deck lists is that everyone has a different playstyle, you see. Not all the deck lists are going to be great for them. But this card is great yet again. But a 4-cost 2/2 lifelink isn't that big of a deal in this deck anyway. I don't tend to take that much damage because you tend to have a lot of blockers. Also, so lifelink, you can probably ignore that on this card. When it dies, you put a 1/1 White Spirit token onto the field with flying. So for this amount, you get a 1/1 token when it dies that flies, and a 2/2 lifelink. So it's good. It's just not great. I mean, this card is better, and I don't run this card. So let me put it that way. This one, when it dies, you get 2 1/1 White Spirit tokens with flying onto the battlefield. Like I said, ignore the lifelink because the lifelink's pretty useless in this deck. But there you go. This card is pretty good. It just doesn't fit the deck at the moment. There are better cards turn 4. I tend to play Champion's Call, I think it is, or something like that. The 3 tokens for 4. Tend to play them turn 4 a lot. Wildborn Charge is a win condition. It's just, yet again, I haven't needed it. You get it and you're like, oh, it's good, but only 2 creatures. You know, I have a lot of creatures on the field. It's sorcery speed. It's sorcery speed buff. I don't like it, to be honest. It just doesn't seem to fit the way I play or the way this deck is built. And I'm gonna be saying that it's all opinion based of the 60s, and that's the thing about it. I just know that this deck works on a consistent basis for me. Archon of Justice, great card, is really fucks up some decks. Really fucks up green because it's a flying creature for 5, which is good. But flying is really good against green. When it dies, you exile target permanents, so that's land, artifacts, enchantments, any card that they have, or even any card that you have, just in case. I don't know if you want to remove anything you have, but it doesn't say may. Most of the time it doesn't matter if they say may or not because you can get rid of a land, but I do like having the option not to, you know. It's just, but it's a great card, yet again. It just doesn't fit the mana curve. Turn 5, I mean, I only have 2 5-cost cards in there and 2 6-cost cards. This just makes it a bit too bulky for the way I run it, to be honest. Along with all of these cards are basically in the same position. This is just bad. Turn the tables. All combat damage dealt to you, you can turn against an one attacking creature. I know there is a card that is basically the same, except it does it to player and it's cheaper than that. So I don't know why I didn't have that instead. It's Fog for 5 that kills a creature. That's not that great, to be honest. That's a 4-cost kill spell and plus the 1 mana for Fog. So there you go. Spirit of the Hearth, or Heath, or however. Flying, you have hexproof. Really good against burn decks. Really good against burn decks. But it costs 6 mana as a 4/5 flyer. That is good against mill and burn. Really good against mill, really good against burn. But it's not. It's too big. It's too clunky for what it is. It doesn't buff any of my other creatures, to be honest. That's the way I run it. Archangel 5/5, flying vigilance for 7. No, just no. And Mass Calcify finally. 7 cost, destroy all white, non-white creatures. Good card. Don't need it most of the time. Turn 6 is win. Land drop 6 tends to be win. I don't need to rely on Mass Calcify at all. So that's what's out the deck. That's 29 cards out the deck. Doom Traveler, when he dies, great card. You put a 1/1 White Spirit token onto the battlefield with flying. So you just swing in with him. and he deals damage. He either deals damage to their face or they kill him, and you get, well, what Elgard Inquisitor does, but for 1 mana, and it fits the curve brilliantly. It is just really good, and it's a human. That is something that we take into mind. There's a lot of human buffing in this, since this is mono white humans after all. Elite Vanguard 2/1 for 1. Like I said, he's such a good aggressive turn 1 play, especially if you are on the play. Turn 1, most of the time, a lot of decks do have a few turn 1s, but they don't have a few that they want to trade with Elite Vanguard, so there you go. Loyal Sentry is the boss. He is the best counter to green in this deck, I feel, because it kills anything. Any card that's attacking you, if you block with Loyal Sentry, it will destroy it unless it is indestructible. I haven't tested it against a Shroud card yet, if a creature has Shroud or not, but you don't target the creature, so I'm almost certain Shroud is fine, yet again. A Court of Paladin, we were on about this card, isn't that great, because it does get killed real quick, but worst case scenario, it's going to get chumped by a 1/1 and get its battle cry effect off, so most of the time you're not just going to swing against a 1/1 with a Court of Paladin by himself anyway. The next best thing, or the next worst thing, he might get rid of some removal from your opponent, and the best thing is that he can win the game. That's Daisha's words, and I completely agree. That's the reason I run him. I run him to do maybe 3 damage early on, and then to win the game later on. He is a win condition by himself, and yeah, look at it. Look at his badass armor. I mean, what else am I supposed to say? Another turn 2, Honor of the Pure. I wish there was 2 in here, but maybe it might even be a bit more broken than it already is, since this deck is fantastic along with like a lot of the other decks. All my creatures will get +1/+1, and it's an enchantment. So permanently, until they remove that enchantment, every creature in this deck will get +1/+1. Journey to Nowhere is insane. Exile target creature. If they destroy the enchantment, they get the creature back. I don't care. Most of the time, a lot of decks aren't running enchantment removal at the moment. I mean, I don't even run the enchantment removal at the moment. And Journey to Nowhere just fucks that up. Such a great card. Raise the Alarm, we know this. Instant speed, put 2/1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. Great, fucking great card. Spectral Rider, Intimidate is probably out of all the cards that have Intimidate in this game, it's probably the worst, because there's more white cards than there are like any other, I believe, because there's this deck, the one other deck, the life gain deck, and then there's the black and white deck as well, while the other decks only have one other of the same colour, so there's 3, I guess you could say white is repeated 3 times, I guess. But it still gets in there, because you don't see those white decks being played that often, and when it works, it's still a 2/2 Intimidate for 2, that can be buffed by Honor of the Pures, can be buffed by Glory's Anthem, which we'll get to in a bit. Attendant Knight, brilliant 3-cost creature, you get 2 guys for the cost of 3, and one of them's a 2/2 with First Strike, the other one's a 1/1 white soldier token. So most of the time this might be a 3/3 First Strike and you get a 2/2 for 3. Brilliant card. Like I said, if you look at the other 3 drops that are in here, if you compare it to Night Guard Patrol, this card is just better. Crusade of Odric, it's an XX where X is the amount of creatures you control. Most of the time when you drop this guy, usually a 3/3 or a 2/2, which isn't that impressive, but turn 4, this guy ends up swinging in for 5, swinging in for 6. Damage that it's very difficult to calculate from your opponent's perspective how much damage this guy's going to do next turn, especially in a deck like this. So really good card. Fiend Hunter, enters the battlefield and may exile another target creature. It basically goes under Fiend Hunter. It's basically the same as Journey to Nowhere, just on sticks instead of an enchantment. So it's on a 1/3 guy, which is great because you don't realize how valuable 3 toughness is, but it works really well on this deck. 3 toughness, you find it pretty difficult to deal with, and especially when it can be buffed to 4 toughness or to 5 toughness in some cases. Glory's Anthem gives all my creatures +1/+1. There are 2 of these now, which kind of makes up for only running 1 of the Pure. Like I said, 2 Honor of the Pures and 2 Glorious Anthems. Holy hell. It just makes your side huge, makes tokens that you've been generating from Raise the Alarm, from Attendant Knights, from other cards that we'll see in a minute, makes them 2/2s instead of the 1/1 It makes your Quarter Paladins bigger as well. Benefits, it's just beneficial, and that's what it is. This card is a win condition, yet again, 3 cost, give all my creatures +2/+2 until end of turn. I was playing against Daisho. He had the mono white life gain, I had this deck. He must have been on 60-ish life, and I had quite a lot of creatures on the field, and I was at 6, I was on a 3-turn clock from a 2/2 flyer. I swung in with everything, Guardians players, and hit him straight down to 0 exactly. So I think that was about 50 or 60 damage. It'll probably say my player stats, because that's probably the most damage I've dealt in one turn. But yeah, this deck, fantastic. That card works really well with it. Oblivion Ring, one of the best removals in the game. I know it's not the best removal in the game, but it's fucking great. 3 cost, remove non-land permanent from the game. If they destroy Oblivion Ring, they get it back. That includes enchantments. That includes enchantments, artifacts, creatures. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. There's a card called No Mercy in the black and white deck, which basically just shuts down this deck completely. No Mercy shuts down this entire build, but Oblivion Ring can get rid of that No Mercy. Oblivion Ring is a solution. You don't want to be throwing this card away. This card is a solution to almost every card in the game. This is that removal. So yeah, you don't want to throw this away on crap creatures. You don't want to exactly wait, keep it in your hand being dead either. You got to find the right moment to use this card, and it will destroy your opponent. It will wreck them so much. Captain's Call, that's what the card was called. I can't quite remember. 3 1/1 guys for 4. When you look at the value, that's not really that great. But when you look at the deck build, these are fantastic. These are like 2/2 guys most of the time. 3 2/2 guys for 4, I'll take that any day. 3 2/2 guys that buff my Crusader of Odric, I'll definitely take that. 3 2/2 guys that can get buffed by a Quarter Paladin, you notice a pattern yet? This guy hits the table turn 4 almost every game. It also just changes the board position so much in your favour most of the time. Dawn Elemental is the bane existent of every deck in the game. All damage that would be dealt to Dawn Elemental, you prevent. That's not combat damage either, so you know how irritating Fog Bank is? When attacking into Fog Bank? Imagine that, but you can't burn it. You can only use Doomblade and similar. You can't use your burn decks, so this shuts down burn decks completely. Shuts down the mono green piles as well. I'm not sure. I'm almost certain that the fight mechanic doesn't work against this, but not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. And it flies, and it's a 3/3 flyer, and it's 4 mana. That's great value for card. That's what that is. If we look at what else is 4 cost in the sideboard at the moment, we got Windborn Charge, or we've got Dawn Elemental and Captain's Call. We've got Mausoleum Guard, Elgard Inquisitor. You see, these cards are great, but they're not Dawn Elemental, they're not Captain's Call in this situation, they're not Odric Master Tactician. First Strike 3/4, which is good value, but he's legendary for a reason. If you attack with 3 or more creatures, you get to choose how creatures block, or not block at all. So if they have a really good creature on the field, if they block it, or it does some cross buffing, you can attack with this guy and 3 others and kill that creature, or you can let all your creatures through to kill them, which is what you do most of the time anyway. Such a great card, works really well in this deck. In fact, if you have him on the field, you've probably got 3 or more creatures attacking next turn anyway, so you don't need to worry about that bit. And he's a 3/4 first strike anyway, so not terrible. Geist on the Monk hits the table turn 5 every game if I'm in control, which most of the time I am. Vigilance XX, and you put where X is the amount of creatures you control, and you put 2 1/1 white spirit token creatures onto the field with it. So it's Crusader of Odric for 2 more, and for that 2 more you get Vigilance and 2 1/1 white tokens, so white flying tokens. So this guy is great. He brings the noise. He is the he's what changes the tide most of the time. Most of the time you're a bit worried whether you should attack or not. But Geist of the Monk comes into play and it's GG. Captain of the Watch comes into play and it's GG. All my soldier creatures get +1/+1 and have Vigilance. and it comes and puts 3 1/1 white soldier creatures tokens onto the battlefield for 6. So it puts, so by itself it puts 6 fucking 9 power and toughness onto the field for 6 mana, and gives a lot of those creatures vigilance, and anything else that you already have on the field in this deck probably is getting buffed and have vigilance as well. That's what this guy does for 6 mana. This guy wins games for 6 mana, and there's 2 of them. You should probably run both. If you're not running both, you should probably run both, because it's, oh, I'm down but not out. Oh, drew Captain Watch off the off the top. GG, well played. Oh, I drew Geistland Monk off the top. GG, well played. That's just how this deck rolls. It is such a good deck. It's probably my favorite deck to play because it just wins so well. It just wins. This is the way I run it. I really do like the mana curve. We've got a very, very smooth mana curve. Nice early aggression going on into the late game, where the late game is basically Geist and Captain the Watch. It tends to win turn 6, turn 7. If it goes past turn 6, turn 7, most of the time I'm just going to hold back until I can win in 1 attack. Yeah, but that's the deck list. Hope you guys enjoyed. I probably will be doing some gameplay over on my channel. My channel is linked in the description. If you go subscribe over there, you'll see a lot of stuff. I'm doing some deck testing series where I show the deck list that I'm currently using, and then I play 3 games in a row, and that's all live streamed, and that live stream, that session goes up on my channel. So there you go. That's the deck list. I know people have been wanting this one. This is probably my most powerful deck I'm playing at the moment. Like I said, I've lost 1 game with this as it stands. That game was to the mirror, and I got land fucked. I had 5 land and a Captain of the Watch, and the rest, and I drew nothing but land. I thought I might have got lucky, but I didn't, and that was a to the mirror matchup. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this helped. I don't know when I'll be doing my next like deck breakdown or whatever I'm going to be calling this. Probably when I've got a deck that I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to change this one. I'm very close with Ancient Wilds to that kind of point, so maybe that might be the next one we see. Born of Flame is getting there. The rest of the decks are probably still in changing most of the time. I do a lot of deck testing half the time. Goblins is almost there. Dream Puppets, I don't know, I'm switching between it. I don't particularly play Celestial Light or Crosswinds that often, or Exalted that often. Obedient Dead I've actually got to work quite effectively now, but it's still not the best deck. It's not Peacekeepers. There you go. That's what I'll say. So expect some more of these in the future. I'll do the gameplay on my channel and do the deck lists on this channel. There you go. I hope that helped. I'll see you guys later. Bye.